All right, all eyes of Arizona were fixed on southern Arizona on election night and the days that followed in a very close race in southern Arizona. And as the days went on, the entire country was watching because the balance of power in the House of Representatives, we figured the projections were going to be that the Republicans were going to control the House. We didn't realize that the race in southern Arizona was going to be the ones that put the Republicans into the majority. We're, of course, talking about Congressman Juan Ciscomani. He joins us from the belly of the beast right now. Congressman, welcome back.
Hey, Mike. Glad to be on.
Let's start with your race. That district has been classically very close a lot of times. Did the race go about the way you expected? Was it closer than you thought? What was your mindset like watching those results go back and forth?
Yeah, well, the goal is always to win. We'll take a win. Always would rather win by a larger margin than we do. But a win is a win. And honestly, this cycle, we won by a larger margin than the first cycle. So although it was close initially, it was mainly due because of the reporting of the different counties.
Right.
Cochise County had a bunch of challenges, a bomb threat, and then one of the tabulators went down, and then a power outage just the day after they got their new tabulator in. So you couldn't make this stuff up. One thing led to another. And Cochise County, which is a pretty Republican county, we won that county by about 33, 34 points, was later on reporting, was a little tardy in reporting. So that kept the race very close at the beginning, a back and forth that we were all looking at. Now we know the numbers and where they were coming from. So we were paying close attention. We had attorneys there in the room. So we took all the precautions, learned about this from the first race in 22 when it took that long as well. But back then we won by about 5,000 votes. This time was almost 11,000 votes, 2.5% at the end of the day. So again, this district is always going to be close. It's always going to be within the margin, but we did do significantly better than we did in 22.
And so what do you attribute that to? I know your stance on the border, you've been very vocal. Leadership has put you out in front on a lot of different issues. What is it that you think made the increase for you?
Well, I think our presence, I think being there, listening, working with people, whatever their ideas were, we were able to just pay attention to them, listen, learn, and just act on the promises that we made. The border was the number one issue along with the economy, and there was really like a back and forth. So I consider two number one issues in my district, and that was the border and the economy. People were hurting with both. They could see exactly what was happening. We passed the bills out of the House for the border. We worked with, in many cases, with both sides to make sure that things got through. So we were effective. We did what we said we were going to do, and that's what earned us the trust in our community. We're still crunching numbers, Mike, but last cycle we ended up losing the Pima County portion by about 7 points, which is actually better than how most Republicans perform. This time it was less than 6 points, about 5.7. So we even closed the margin in Pima County, which is, as you know, a very blue county. But we earned the support of independents also that just wanted common sense. This vote also this year overall was the Hispanic community played a key role in the vote, and we did very well there. For a lot of reasons, but obviously we did a lot of things in Spanish. I could communicate with them. And as you said at the beginning, to be the 218th win, I mean, our win here put the Republicans back in the majority in the House. That just heightens the importance of this seat. And where we've been telling people, you and I both, of saying this seat determines the balance of power in Washington. It wasn't just a talking point. It happened literally. And that's why we need to keep on working hard to keep the seat.
Congressman Juan Ciscomani is joining us, talking about his race, his victory, and then the balance of power in D.C. So before we get to the balance of power shift that's happened in D.C., how will you be different? I mean, with your experience now that you've had, gaining experience as every day goes on, how will the next session of Congress be different for you, or will it be different for you than it was this past one?
Oh, it will absolutely be different. I mean, we have a much a game plan that will be executed much earlier than the last one. We're working on that today. We're already working on what exactly our first days in office are going to look like in the 119th Congress. At this point last year, I didn't even have a team. I was still in orientation. The race had been called a week ago. We're still trying to learn everything. Then the year kicks off with trying to gain the assignment on the Appropriations Committee. So that was another whole campaign. So things obviously take off a little slower as a freshman. And then as you learn the ways here and who to talk to and and how to be effective. That's the learning curve in your first term. We're walking in here as a sophomore, but not a normal sophomore because of how much happened in that first term, how much we went through. All of that happened not only to us and in our term, but also to the country and to Congress as well. So we're coming in here with a very different perspective, a specific agenda of what we're going to do and when. I just passed my sixth bill this week for veterans, this one. So as a freshman, passing 6 bills out of this House is pretty significant. So we have a game plan that we're going to be executing on much earlier. Now, to the second part, maybe this is where you want to go as well. Everything also changes because now we will have the Senate and the White House, and that sets the stage in a very different way as well.
So when you look at the majority, and let's start there with the majority, it's going to be a small majority, probably somewhere around 220 or 221 for your party. But will it be a more unified caucus? There's been some upheaval in the previous years, the ousting of some speakers and a little bit of discontent. Do you believe the Republican caucus will be more united moving forward in this next session?
I do believe so. Mike. And I was very critical of the division in our conference the last 2 years at different times. But I think everybody learned their lesson. Both the ones that were more on the disrupting side and those others that wanted to just unify no matter what. I mean, you had different facets of what was happening up here. But the bottom line is that we could have been way more effective. And we did play a lot of defense here because of the Democrats having the Senate and also the White House. So I think at the end of the day, we were effective, but I think we could have done much even more than what we did. And we're going to be able to do that this time. Also, obviously having the country voting for the agenda of President Trump and what he's going to bring in terms of leadership to Washington and cleaning things up and doing all that, that's going to pose a great opportunity for Congress also to be on the same page, on the same agenda to get this economy back working for everyone, securing the border, limiting the size of government, gaining the respect that America should have around the world. These are all things that we're very excited about, that we're going to be having to work together on. There will be challenges. I expect that to happen, but I think we're going to work through them in a much more effective way than last time.
The focus on the border and the president-elect's border policies and Tom Homan coming on as the border czar, but your unique perspective and your leadership on this issue is one that I think was not overlooked, but it wasn't considered as much because the White House and the Senate were under Democrat control. H.R. 2 and some other border security measures. What is the House going to do about border security legislatively? And what are they going to do about the Dreamers? Are you going to get something real done? Are you going to make an attempt to get something real done that the Senate's going to take up, that the president will sign, that finally gives protection for Dreamers and we can put this issue to bed?
Great question, Mike. Great question. First of all, I'll say the reason that the White House, the current White House, didn't consider our perspective was because they weren't interested in the security part of the border. They were interested in other things of it that we could find maybe a little bit of common ground on, but they were not interested at all in the border security piece, and we couldn't find any common ground there, and that is the priority. So I think as we enforce current immigration laws and we have the White House coming in, also reinstating some of the executive orders that worked before that Biden undid on day one, that's going to set the agenda and also take care of a lot of the low-hanging fruit of what we can do immediately, things that we've been calling on President Biden to do for the last 4 years, and he hasn't done. So once we have that, we're going to know what elements of H.R. 2 haven't been dealt with the White House, and then we can act on those priorities and in the legislative way as well. So H.R. 2 or a version of that will look very different because a lot of the stuff in H.R. 2 will actually be taken care of by the White House, which is where it belongs, in the executive branch and the enforcement of actual current immigration laws. So that's on that. And then to your point on the Dreamers, you know that you and I have talked about this many times. This is where we have an opportunity to make a difference between those that are here in the country committing crimes that need to be released from our country and be deported, and also those that are here that have made a life for themselves, like these kids that were brought at 1 or 2 years old that have grown up in our schools, and we need to have a way that we can incorporate them into our society and system. So I've been advocating for that since we got here, but there was no appetite from the left to actually deal with security and Dreamers as well. So I'll keep fighting for both of those. They're both very, very personal to me, as you know.
Yeah, I do know that. Well, Congressman, congratulations on the victory. I'm thrilled that you're back in the Congress. I hope to see you when you're back up in Phoenix again, and keep up the great work.
You got it, Mike. Thanks a lot.
All right, that's Congressman Juan Ciscomani spending a few moments with us.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.